Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How's everyone doing tonight? Want to make sure that we are live streaming here. Just double checking everything. Give me 1 second. All right. Double checking. Oh. Oh. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. One more second here. Not seeing what I want to see. Just want to make sure that we are live streaming. All right, there we go. That's what I needed to see. All right, very good, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Warren Nelson. I am going to be the star of the show tonight, so to speak. All right. And I'm also going to be your instructor, and I am the director of Online Real Estate School Incorporated. I produce this show every Monday, ladies and gentlemen, and sometimes I barely make it. Oh, by the way, announcement, I will not be doing the show next Monday, ladies and gentlemen. So no show next Monday on the 1st. I already have prior engagements, so I won't be able to do the show. I don't know, maybe I get somebody to run the show for me, see if I have any of my previous guests would love to run the show. But in any event, no show next Monday, ladies and gentlemen, so I just want to make that announcement. Okay, so I put together this show for students who are looking to sign up with a school and they're in their research mode. You're doing a little research. You're not sure what school is going to be for you. And I figured, one way to introduce this school to potential new students is by doing a class and showing the students what they're going to see, what they're going to experience in the classroom, should they decide to take this route and join up and sign up with my school. So I want to make sure that my school gives you the best education that we can possibly give you. And I'm always striving to do just that. And so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to literally show you what you're going to be experiencing in the classroom. Now, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to need modern real estate practice in Pennsylvania, the 14th edition. So if you're going to be buying anything online and trying to expedite your process, please make sure that you're investing. My class will give you the ebook. You can also purchase the manual, but this is the manual that we're going to be using in the classroom. And you're going to have to understand real estate practice and real estate fundamentals. And there's real estate practice and real estate fundamentals. Why does the state require these two subjects to be well understood in order for you to receive a real estate license? The easiest way is to just take on one by word, but let me synopsis it for you. Real estate fundamental deals with the law, as I said before. It's going to deal with federal, state, and local law. Plus, there's a bunch of other laws like fair housing laws, contract law, agency law, non-discrimination laws, and so forth. So there's a bunch of laws involved with real estate that you have to have a general understanding of in order to represent the industry, the real estate industry, and those who ask or need help with real estate. So we want to make sure that you have a general understanding of all the laws involved with real estate. Real estate practice, on the other hand, is going to deal with working directly with the client, helping them with a contract, helping them negotiate, helping them understand each hurdle of the deal. And so the state wants you to understand real estate fundamentals, all the legal mumbo jumbo, and there's a lot of it, and the practice of helping people. In the practice portion, we're going to get paid, and we're going to see how we get paid in this industry. And you're going to see how much money that you can make easily with templated knowledge, templated routine, by doing and seeing somebody else, what somebody else did, and doing the same thing over and over again, repeat what they did, and then do exactly the same thing as they did. And then boom, you're going to be as successful as you can. Most people are not successful, ladies and gentlemen, because they lack the ability to self-motivate. You're not going to be an employee when you get into the real estate business. You're going to be your own boss, your own business. You're going to starting a real estate business. That's why you're getting a real estate license. The real estate license entitles you to earn compensation. You cannot earn any form of compensation. You can't charge anybody anything in the real estate arena for real estate services if you're not licensed for those services that require a real estate license. You can't get compensation. And so we'll talk about the title company not allowing illegal compensation. It would have to be held at the table, and then you can have it distracted later later on. But again, another topic. So the state wants you to understand real estate practice, representing the client, being with the client, and real estate fundamentals. Now, when we do real estate fundamentals, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have 12 chapters that you're going to need to pretty much thoroughly understand, starting with real property and the law. Now, we're going to be talking about real property and personal property. For instance, let me ask you a question. What's real and what's personal? Washer and dryer. Would that be real property or would that be personal property? How about the kitchen cabinets and the chandelier? Would that be real or would that be personal? How about the refrigerator or the hedges, the shrubbery outside the property? Are you taking it with you or are you leaving it? So in chapter 1, unit 1 for real estate fundamentals. Now, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand one thing before we go any further. It doesn't matter if you're starting with real estate fundamentals or you're still starting with real estate practice. It doesn't matter. You're two different subjects. So just because it says unit 13, unit 14 doesn't mean that you needed real estate fundamentals first before you had real estate practice. That's not the case. They're two different subjects. They don't go in chronological order just because the book puts these in chronological order of chapters or units. So don't think you need one before the other. They're two different subjects, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so keep that in mind. You don't have to start at fundamentals and do practice just because the book put that in unit in that order. You don't have to do it that way. Okay, so good. So what's real? What's not? What's personal? And so you're going to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that once you get a real estate license, that's going to allow you to do residential sales and commercial. You don't need a separate license to do residential and commercial, but you do need a separate understanding, because what we'll talk about in unit 1 would be fixtures and trade fixture. A fixture is attached to the property and stays with the property in a residential arena. But a trade fixture is attached to the property, but it's personal. You need it for your business. Let's say you got a nail salon business and you have to bolt your chairs and tables to the floor. Even though you attach them, they don't stay real. They stay personal. You get to take them because it is what the tenant needed for their business. So fixtures and trade fixtures. Now, we are very redundant in the classroom. And we do these things over and over and over again in the 4 weeks that we are together in one class and 4 weeks that we're together in another class. 4 weeks for real estate fundamentals, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for 4 weeks, and 4 weeks for real estate practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for 4 weeks. And so in these 4 weeks in each class, we are very redundant, doing the same thing over and over again. So by the end of the 4 weeks, everything is very much solidified in the brain. In the first couple of days, it's a little overwhelming, but after that, everything starts coming together because of our redundancy, doing and saying the same routine over and over again so that you understand each of the principles. So unit 1, we'll talk about what's real and what's personal property. And it also talks about the difference between your ground, underneath the ground, and above the ground, above the property, the air rights, the surface rights, and the subsurface rights. That too is very big in Pennsylvania. So you would need to know, as a licensed real estate professional, that we not only sell the property, but the property owner doesn't just get to sell the property owner gets to sell anything that they own below the ground, like coal, oil, gas, shale, as well as their air rights above the property. Now, right now, you might not even understand that the property can be sold in three different ways, just right then and there: air rights, surface rights, subsurface rights. So these are the things that you're going to find out there's much more to real estate, and you can sell much more real estate if you know what real estate you can sell. And so that's what chapter one, unit one talks about. Unit two, land use controls and property development. What this is going to be talking about is what we can legally, it's zoning, basically. You just can't take an old warehouse and turn it into an apartment complex. Why? Because it needs to be zoned. The government has to change the zoning from an industrial property to residential so that the developer can take that old warehouse and turn it into an apartment complex. So this chapter will talk about what we can and cannot do with a property. Let's just say that you want to buy a single family property and turn it into a rooming house. Can you do that? Technically, legally, no, until you get a variance to change the zoning. So in this chapter, unit two, we're going to talk about the process of taking a single family property and turning it into a duplex or a triplex. And we're also going to talk about the process of developing from the ground up, from being a subdivider to a developer to you, the salesperson, and what needs to be licensed and what doesn't need to be licensed, and so forth. So unit two is going to talk about what we can legally do with the property. And you want to make sure that if you're going to be a new real estate agent, somebody buys a property from you and you help them buy the property, that they can legally do with the property when they buy this property. Again, if I helped you buy a single family property and I led you to believe that you can turn it into a rooming house, and you spend $200,000 to buy this single family property that you think you can turn into a rooming house, only to find out after you buy it that you will not get the zoning board of appeals approval, no variance, you can't turn it into a rooming house. Now, do you think you're going to be a little upset at the agent who helped you buy this property and you can't use it legally for the purpose that you thought you could? So these are the things that we are learning in this chapter. And again, it'll take us to representing them, but we need to know the law, the zoning as first. Environmental issues, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting. Carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide's a quick killer, ladies and gentlemen. It'll get you quickly. And if you don't know what to look for or how to detect carbon monoxide, you could be in a world of trouble. Asbestos is another sneaky bugger, but asbestos is going to take the back end of your life, not the front of you end of your life. Then we got radon. How does radon seep into the property, ladies and gentlemen? It comes from the earth. It comes from the ground. Every property has it. So these environmental issues, especially on brown fields that you're going to need to know about that were toxic wasteland at one time, and where to find these environmental spots and where the money is to improve them and what laws are in effect with these environmental issues is going to be an important unit, unit number 3 for you guys when we take the class. A lot. Did you know that mold and mildew and water issues, a lot of the insurance companies opted out of that and now they're not covered. Mold and mildew's not covered. And that'll come back when you, the real estate agent, personally, if you're not aware of the mold and the mildew issues that could affect you. So, big chapter. Unit number 4, legal description. Your address, ladies and gentlemen, will not tell how big your property is, where it begins, where it ends. Let's just say you got a 200,000 square foot property and 16 acres of land. A legal description will tell us where your land begins, how wide it is, circle all the way around, and finish to the beginning, point of beginning, so that your property is completely enclosed. This would be called a legal description, and it's used in a court of law, legal description. So the address of your property is not the legal description because the address doesn't tell you where your property lines are, how big your property is, where it begins, where it ends. That's where a legal description would come in. Now, units 5, 6, and 7 are very interesting units. We're going to talk about interest in real estate, forms of real estate ownership, and real estate taxes. Now, I teach my students in class that we sell property by deed, the deed, the deed, the deed. And the moment, it's called delivery and acceptance, the moment that I transfer the deed to the buyer and the buyer accepts the deed, the buyer becomes the owner of the property at that moment. It's this transferring of paper. So the buyer gives the seller a check for the property, and the seller gives the buyer the deed and the keys to the property. It's at this transfer at time that the new owner, the buyer, becomes the owner of the property. Now, not all property is sold by deed. Some property you're buying an interest in the property, interest, like a timeshare, for instance, ladies and gentlemen. When you buy a timeshare, you're not getting the deed to the property, you're buying an interest. You get to use that property 1 week, 2 weeks out of the year. So we sell property by deed and we sell property by interest. Campground membership, mobile homes, factory built homes. Maybe you get the deed to the property, maybe you don't. And it's your job as a real estate agent to know, are you getting an interest in this property, like a timeshare, or are you getting the deed to this property? All right. Forms of real estate ownership. There are 4 forms of ownership: ownership in severalty, where one person buys the property, becomes the owner of that property; tenants in common, where more than one person, let's say 3, 4, 5 people going together in a joint venture and buy the property. Now all 5 own this property. That form of ownership or form of real estate would be known as tenants in common. They each have a common interest. Joint tenancy is a special one that we'll talk about in the class. And the last one is tenancy by the entirety. Tenancy by the entirety is a form of ownership for husband and wife. So when a husband and wife buys property and puts that property in their name, then that form of ownership would be tenancy by the entirety. So 4 forms of ownership, we'll talk about it. Then we're going to talk about real estate taxes and liens. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, when the bank gives you the money to buy the property, which through a mortgage is only a lien against the property. It is not, the deed's not in the bank's name. So I always ask my students this question: if you get a 30-year mortgage and you buy a property with that 30-year mortgage, do you get the deed to the property on day 1 when you buy the property? Or do you get the deed 30 years later when you make your final payment? In certain states, like Pennsylvania, we're a lien theory state, which means the bank only has a lien against the property. So my question in a lien theory state like Pennsylvania would be day 1. But in another state like Texas, they are title theory state. You wouldn't get the deed until 30 years later when you make the final payment. So here in Pennsylvania, you get the deed day 1. So what? You got a 30-year mortgage. Don't get the mortgage and the deed confused. The mortgage is a loan with the collateral of the property. The property's collateral, security for the loan. If you don't make your loan payments, now the bank has a right to foreclose on the property. Not take your property, but foreclose on it. We'll talk about it. The bank doesn't want your property. Government doesn't want your property when you're behind on your taxes, but they have a right to use your property to get those payments that they want. That's what the bank wants. They want the money. That's what the government wants. They want their money. They don't want your property. So never assume that they're trying to steal your property. You would be assuming wrong. And you know what they say about assume. We'll move on from there. So this, we'll talk about liens. When the bank gives you a loan to buy the property, they have a lien against the property. We always want to make sure that a property is sold without any liens or judgments against them. We'll talk about your real estate taxes. What does the taxes on your property that you pay every year, what do those taxes pay for, ladies and gentlemen? Where does your tax money go when you have your property taxes? All right. School taxes are opposite, they're different, not opposite. School taxes are not the same as property tax. So we'll talk about your real estate property taxes and what those taxes pay for in the classroom. Now, Transfer of title, unit 8, 9, and 10, transfer of title, title records, real estate contracts. Now, again, a lot of this will be legal, and we'll talk about the paralegal, what we can and cannot say at the settlement table. So we're going to talk about now, look, title. What is the difference between title and deed? I already told you we sell property by deed. We don't sell property by title. We sell vehicles by title, but we don't sell property by title. But you're going to hear deed and title. And here it is again, transfer of title, title records, real estate contracts. What we're talking about in these units here, ladies and gentlemen, is the process. Title is the process of making sure the deed is marketable, good and marketable, and free and clear of any liens and judgment. So it starts with a title search, an abstract of title, a title report, a title certificate, title insurance. So all this is a process of making sure the deed is good. And we'll talk about this process of making sure the deed is good in these chapters. Unit 11, principle of real estate financing. This is one of my favorite chapters, ladies and gentlemen. There's two chapters. We'll talk about the second one later, because in this chapter, it talks about the banks, the lenders, the loans. Not everybody has cash to buy a property. So sometimes you're going to have to help your client with financing. And if you understand what the lender is trying to accomplish, what the bank, the loan officer, the lender is trying to accomplish, then it will complement your real estate business as well. But if you don't understand what the lender's trying to accomplish, it will affect your real estate business, and you'll be getting mad every time that the lender rejects one of your clients because you did not know how to pre-approve your client using the 2836 rule, using the difference between a conventional loan, an FHA loan, a VA loan. So when we talk about the principle of financing in class, we're going to be talking about the many options, especially when you can take an unqualified buyer and with the assistance of others, maybe a grant program, maybe the seller, we can take an unqualified buyer and make them qualified, especially by buying points, discount points. What is points? What is loan origination fee? What is the primary lender? What is the secondary lender? So we'll be talking about why we have a primary lender and a secondary lender system. Why? What is the difference between the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department, and so forth. So that we'll be talking about the principle. When you understand that the money's in the money, ladies and gentlemen, money's in real estate is great. But when you understand that the banks get very, very wealthy and the banks only have one product, Federal Reserve notes, and they make their money on those notes, ladies and gentlemen, and that controls the world. Now, what really controls the world is the mortgages, the mortgage market. So real estate and financing are blended in. You're not going to have the mortgage market without the real estate. But the mortgage is the floating money. We'll talk about that in the principles of real estate financing. And this is the big chapter right here, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to take 2 state exams after you're done graduating my class. And those 2 state exams are going to be on real estate practice and fundamentals. But what they do is they call it national and state. And so on the state portion of the exam, almost 40% of the state portion of the exam is right here in this chapter here. Pennsylvania real estate licensing law, because I told you real estate fundamentals deals with the law. And so this will be the big chapter. Fortunately, this chapter is very redundant. So we'll be doing almost everything 3 times in this chapter. This way here, you have a clear understanding. You might not have caught it the first time. You think you got it the second time. By the 3rd time that we do it in this chapter, and it's designed this way, you should have a much clearer understanding. This chapter deals with the licensing, the real estate license law. You're getting a real estate license, so you're under certain laws with that license. And it also deals with the police department. We have what's called the Real Estate Commission. And the Real Estate Commission is our private police department. So if someone files a complaint against the real estate agent, The real estate commission will first decide if the complaint is valid or frivolous. And then if they decide it is valid, they have the right and the duty to investigate to see what happened. If there was wrongdoing on the part of the agent, part of the client, was there a misunderstanding? Is there a learning curve here that we can use for future endeavors? And so the real estate commission's job is to have oversight, to protect the public from you, the real estate agent, which is why you're taking this class, to understand what you can and cannot do under your licensing law, and understanding what you can and cannot do when it comes to real estate sales and real estate investment. Taking this class is a great platform. Let's say that you don't want to get a real estate license. You just want to learn real estate. Before you start investing in any investment class, you think this is a good foundation, you would be right. This is a great platform and a great foundation to start your real estate journey, because this class deals with what's required by state and federal law, so that everybody understands the transaction from the beginning to end. So if you really want to dabble in the real estate, then this should be your starting point, a state mandated class. Even if you don't want to get your real estate license, having this knowledge will behoove you and benefit you in your real estate endeavor. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, there are your first 12 chapters. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you start with practice or you start with fundamental, because the way I got my classes divided, they're two separate courses, not chronological, all right? And so it doesn't matter if you're starting with real estate practice or real estate fundamental. Real estate practice, as I said, deals with the business, deals with you working with the client, the contract, and so forth. So here's what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen. You just got a little glimpse of one section, one part of the real estate, and you're now going to get to see another part of the real estate arena. But before we do that, again, you're doing a little bit of research to see if this is the right move for you. Is this Zoom platform? Because again, remember, when you're in my class, you will be there. Will be a checkerboard pattern, and all of us will be in the class together, speaking to each other, asking each other questions, and so forth. So that would be a live streaming platform, and you're trying to decide right now, is this for me? Maybe hearing from some of my other students probably be helpful. Let's do that.
Well, this school was the only school with 5-star reviews. I did a lot of research.
The information that you give us is just like amazing.
I had a family member that attended your school, and they just spoke wonders about you.
I think like most of everybody in the class, it was the reviews for me.
After reading your reviews and just trusting my friend, he said, you're 100% the way to go, and I do not regret it at all whatsoever.
Your school is amazing.
I came to you, it was within my expectations.
And the broker knows like, okay, this person, wherever they're going to school, like they know what they're doing. Once I talked to you and spoke to you, I was just like, okay, I think this is the right school.
Personally, I have a very good friend that's actually in the real estate business already a broker. He actually recommended you to be a teacher.
Like served as a mentor, just as many others have said. So it's been a pleasure. It really has.
After your classes, I become like more knowledge, and it's great. It's great job because
You care about all your students.
He's more than a teacher. He's a mentor. He's someone you look up to.
And you're a great teacher, to be honest with you. You slow down when people have a question. You review things as many times as we need you to.
But you take this time, you actually read for us to get to know and understand this. And I am so ready.
very glad that I chose your school. It's a nice school, so it's great for me because you don't have to travel anywhere. I just choose you, and it was a great, it was a great time.
I thank you, and I will take the class over and over and over and over and over.
One of the best teachers ever.
This would be really good for me. And then I think what really put me in was once I talked to you,
on the phone.
I did see the 5-star review. I did look around a little bit.
I mentioned you, your school is like really, a lot of people knows about your school.
And I was a little bit skeptical because 5-star reviews, no business, no nothing has 5-star reviews. But it worked out amazing, and I'm happy I chose this school.
But the information that you give, that you give more than a lot of teachers out there give.
Oh, absolutely. I think the school actually really went beyond my expectations.
I cannot thank you enough for the experience and this preparation to run my own business.
It's like more information that you give, but the more knowledge I just lock that into my brain, and I know I'm just gonna get out there and achieve a lot of things.
Working with you has been a pleasure. It really has. You like served as a mentor.
And I would definitely recommend that anyone who is looking into any kind of real estate.
And of course, there's my information, ladies and gentlemen, 267-972-1084, 267-972-1084, where you can go and see my website at onlinerealestateschoolinc.com, onlinerealestateschoolinc.com. Very, very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there are some of the things that we've gone over so far. So real estate fundamentals is going to deal with the law, federal law, state law, local law, fair housing law, contract law, agency law, discrimination laws, and so forth. So there's a lot of law, the American Disability Act, and so forth. So there's a lot of laws, and it's not that hard, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that you do need to have this breadth of understanding to be as good at your business as you could possibly be. So let's continue on and see what the other chapters will be bringing us here. So the second part is real estate practice. And as I said, in these chapters here, real estate practice, we're going to deal with the business of being in real estate, money, and how much money can be made. So we'll talk about the real estate business. In this chapter, I'm going to talk about different ways. Once you get a real estate license, many people think of it that the best thing for me to do is to go to work for a brokerage, maybe a Remax or a Century 21, a Keller Williams, a Realty Mark, a Weicker. There are many choices, very bona fide, very good companies out there, ladies and gentlemen. Some are franchises, some are more mom and pop, some are privately owned. And none of them would be a bad choice, right choice, or wrong choice. That would be for you to decide. And so in this chapter, we're going to talk about the many choices that you will have once you have that real estate license. You don't have to just go to work for a brokerage, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to work for a Fortune 500 company, Walmart, Pep Boys, Wawa, always looking for real estate agents because they're always looking for a new location. McDonald's just sent a nice package out, $250,000 starting, plus mileage, plus stay, but it does require you to travel the United States to find new location. Franchises are always looking for licensed real estate professionals to find new location. So you don't have to just go to work for the brokerage. With that real estate license, it'll open up employment opportunities at Fortune 500 companies and with franchises. But there's still other avenues that you can take in this. We can do property management. Maybe you don't want to work for the big bucks because you're not comfortable with commission only. You would like to have your eggs in more of one basket. So you would like to have a salary and commission. Then maybe property management could be a route that you would take with your real estate license. Maybe working with a developer, developing properties, an investor. There are many different avenues that you'll be able to pursue with that real estate license, and also many opportunities, many doors will open that you never expected would open in your life without the real estate license. I like to say, ladies and gentlemen, that the real estate license is your golden ticket. Once you have a real estate license, you should never be broke. You should never be unemployed, and many opportunities will prevail and present themselves. Fall in your lap, I like to call it. Opportunities will fall in your lap, ladies and gentlemen, when you have that real estate license. You're taking a different journey, a different path. So that's what we'll talk about in this chapter, all the different avenues of sources of income that you could have. And then we'll talk about other things like an appraiser, a home inspector, a counselor, an educator, and so forth, a government employee. You want to get into government? Real estate is one of the easiest steps to get into government, into politics. So we'll talk about that in this chapter. Unit 14 and 15, the real estate brokerage and agency. See, here's a word that will escape a lot of you. What is agency? What does agency mean? And so this will be on exam. And agency, the way that I teach it, is employment. The services that we're allowed to offer, the services we're not allowed to offer in the state of Pennsylvania under our real estate license. Buyer agent, seller agent, dual agent, designated agency. So there are 4 agencies. Agency, again, is employment. One of my students said, oh, I remember agency by the unemployment agency, because I want you to remember employment. Substitute the word agency with the word employment and services, and then it'll be easier to remember the word agency. But we take real estate language and turn it into plain language in my class to make these things easier to understand. So we're going to talk about that interview process where you are now interviewing a broker and starting your journey, because once you leave my class, you will pass your exam and you will, as long as you apply yourself and accelerate, you will do fine. But what happens after you pass the state exam? Now that's where a lot of my students understand the path and the journey they should take, because I teach this in my class, but a lot of schools do not, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of schools are there and designed to prep you to pass an exam. And then what do you do after you pass that exam? That is not the school's curriculum. That is not the agenda of the school. That would be where a broker or somebody, an employer, would come in. But what direction do you take? So notice that I already talked to you about the different directions that you have available to you. You don't have to just go to work for a brokerage. So that is the first part of knowing what to do after you pass the state exam. And we'll talk about it. And then knowing how to interview with the real estate broker in that first interview process is very important, because you've interviewed for a job. That's just different. Interviewing with a broker and interviewing for a job are 2 different things. When you interview for a job, you're telling the potential employer what qualifications you have that you bring to the company so that you're an asset. That's when you apply for a job. But when you're applying for a brokerage, you're asking for a business relationship agreement. You're asking for a business partnership. You're asking, what does the broker have to offer you if you bring your new real estate business to their platform? So learning how to interview the broker and the difference between a job interview and a brokerage interview, we'll talk about in this class, in this particular chapter. Now, the ethical practice, we're going to talk about protected classes, certain ages like 40 and 62. Then we got the 55 and over community, 62 and over community. And then we're going to have race and ethnicity and gender. All these things, we're going to need to know what's protected and what's next, especially in our society today, ladies and gentlemen, where we're so easily offended. We're going to have to understand who's protected, who's not, and what we can and cannot do. We'll talk about the American Disability Act in this chapter, who's been sued and who's not been sued because of the American Disability Act, and how it applies to your business and your practice. So this one will be an interesting chapter. Now, every day, ladies and gentlemen, when you become a real estate agent, just like any other business, doesn't matter what business you're in, you need customers, you need clients, all right? And there's a difference between a customer and a client in our business, but you need new customers, new clients. The business itself is not going to make any money. It's going to be the paying customers and the paying clients. So where do you, the brand new real estate agent, find your customers and clients? And we'll talk about prospecting, which will lead to an employment contract or agency, listing agreement, an employment agency. That's what we're going to be talking about here. So agency means employment. And when we have a listing agreement, we have an employment contract with the seller. When we have a buyer representation contract, then we have an employment contract with the buyer. All right, let me give you an example. the listing agreement and employment contract with the seller who's hired you to sell their property. They would like to get their property sold for $230,000 and you agree that that is the right price for the property. And now you got 90 days, 120 days to market the property and get the property sold. So now you are employed, hired by the seller to get their property sold. Or you might be employed, hired by the buyer to find a property. Here's what I need. I need a 3-bedroom home in the 19111 zip code. I need a yard, a basement, and I need a bathroom with a tub. My wife wants a tub. We can't have just a shower. So now you're representing the buyer looking for a property in a certain price range at a certain area that matches their criteria. So your job as a real estate agent, once you become one, is to help sellers and help buyers. And now you can be compensated for representing them under these contracts, which we'll teach you how to do in the class, and you'll learn how to do it for your business. All roads, ladies and gentlemen, lead to the Holy Grail, the sales contract, the agreement of sale. And that's when somebody wants to buy the property. And now we get a mutual agreement between the seller and the buyer that agree on terms, price, and time to make the sale of the property. So a sales contract is the holy grail of the real estate business. All roads lead to this point, and we'll talk about this in the classroom. Financing a real estate transaction. Here's the other chapter that I like because it deals with the bank, the primary lender, the secondary lender. What makes something available? Why would the bank give somebody on an FHA mortgage a mortgage to buy a property with only 3.5% down, with bad credit, and no money in the bank? Why would the bank make this loan? Because the government steps in to try to help that individual that doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have great credit, to get started in life with owning their own property. So knowing this chapter really goes a long way in not only real estate, but your whole financial mechanism. And so my students really love when we delve into these chapters 11 and 19, because these chapters really set the projection of your financial mechanism. Put everything into place, because once you know what the bank is trying to achieve, give us our yield and we'll give you the loan. What was that I said? Give us our yield and we'll give you the loan. If you understand what the bank is trying to tell you, you can get your buyer qualified. Everybody's happy. But what did the bank mean when they said, give us our yield and we'll give you the loan? This is what I'll teach you in the class. This will make you very powerful in the real estate arena and in the business arena, because you understand the banking industry and what the banking industry is trying to accomplish. Help them help their goal, and you can help your goal. Zig Ziglar, get what you want in life by helping others get what they want in life. And that's what you'll be doing as a real estate agent. You're helping a buyer buy a property. You're helping a lender get the loan. You're making a commission. Everybody's happy. And a lot of people are in the work. The title company, the home inspector, the appraiser. A lot of people are working because of you taking this class to get a real estate license. And since you're helping one person, in turn, a lot of people in this transaction are going to work. A lot of people are putting food on the table and paying the bills because you got a real estate license and you're making all this happen. So we'll talk about it. Appraising. Remember, I told you here's another party that's making money off the deal. The bank will not lend, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. The bank will not lend any money to buy a property without the appraisal. Not going to happen. The bank wants to make sure that the property, which is the bank's collateral, the bank's security, is worth the loan. Let me give you an example. You're looking to get a loan for $100,000 to buy a property. The bank says, okay, fine, we'll give you the loan. But before we give you the loan, we have to send out an appraiser to appraise the property. You're buying the property for $100,000, but the appraiser says the property's only worth $90,000. Now, what is the bank going to lend you? The $100,000 or the $90,000? The 90, whichever is less. Now that the bank said that the property's not worth 100, it's only worth 90, the bank won't lend you 100. They're only going to lend you the 90. So without the appraisal, the bank's not lending any money. Plus, the bank can't sell this loan in the secondary market, which we'll talk about here, without the appraisal in the package. So many reasons why. And we'll talk about who pays for the appraisal and who the appraiser works for. Doesn't work for the person paying that. So we'll talk about it. Closing the real estate transaction. This is a mystical part of the real estate arena because some people never make it this far. Some deals die and they don't make it to the settlement, and some real estate agents never make it to the settlement table, so they never get to see this part of the real estate transaction. So this is the mystical part of real estate because not everybody makes it to the finish line. But this is the finish line, ladies and gentlemen, and this is where you're getting paid. This is where the keys go to the buyer. The check goes to the seller. Everybody's happy. Everything, the contract is done. And we are moving on to our next client and our next deal. So this, ladies and gentlemen, closing, this is known as settlement. This is where we transfer paper. The buyer gets the deed. The seller gets a check. Everybody's paid. This deal is executed. And we are now done leaving the table. There's also another section that most of you will be more familiar with, even without your real estate knowledge, is leasing property management. Now, again, as I said, when you want to do a salary and commission with that real estate license, then property management might be the route you want to go. But you have to realize that when you're doing property management, you work for the building owner. Your job is to make the owner as much money as you possibly can. That is the role of a property manager. Yes, you're getting a paid salary. So yes, you're getting paid. So your job is to make the owner as much money as you can, but you can also get a commission off of the first month's rent, last month's rent, new lease sign up. So you, with your management agreement, we'll talk about that contract, that employment contract called a management agreement that you would need with the owner to be compensated for your services. So you could do property management where you get a salary and commission. Leasing, again, understand residential and commercial. A gross lease in the residential arena is your typical lease where you're paying $1,200 a month for a nice 900 square foot apartment building. All right, typical. But in the commercial arena, you're paying $25 per square foot for 1,000 square foot unit. How much is that? That's $25,000. But calm down, divide the 25,000 into 12 months, and then you'll see you're paying a little over 2,000 a month for the commercial space. So you have to understand, leasing in the commercial arena, we have net leases, net lease, double net, triple net. We have profit sharing leases as well. And then we have index leases. So there are leases in the residential arena and there are leases in the commercial arena. And this chapter will teach us those avenues of what we need to do. Remember, a lease is two contracts in one, and quiet enjoyment and the security deposit are the two major things in this arena that we need to stay focused with. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a courtroom for a different purpose. All right, so these two chapters, these two parts, real estate practice and real estate fundamental, under the 14th edition of Modern Real Estate Practice is what we're going to be going over on the class. The state has approved this version of its writing from Dearborn. I used Dearborn's 14th edition in my class, and it works out very well. And we're going to be using an ebook. If you use the ebook, because it'll be great with the homework assignments I give you, then it's already included in my enrollment fees. But if you want a physical manual, then you will have to order it directly from Dearborn. I'll give you the link, and you can have a physical manual for the class if you like. Otherwise, the ebook that comes with the class is the same thing. It's just one's digital and one's paperback. Same thing. The ebook comes with the class, but the ebook, I shouldn't say same thing. The ebook actually has many other options. Here's your ebook, for instance, ladies and gentlemen. Now look at this. The ebook, I can highlight something and I can have it read out loud. Go ahead.
Real estate transactions are complex business dealings, beginning with the introduction of a property in the marketplace, progressing to the settlement or closing of the transaction.
So you get the idea. So a regular paperback manual would not be able to read to you. Also, if I want to look up words, ladies and gentlemen, the ebook would make things a little bit easier. Let's just say that I wanted to know about severance. All right, and we'll talk about that in a class. Severance is will find every spot in the book where severance is spoken about and talked about, and it will automatically highlight severance. We'll talk about severance and annexation, two things that you'll need to know in Unit 1. But the ebook makes it very easy to find words, and especially with your homework assignment, where the paperback manual makes it a little harder. The other thing that I like about the ebook, ladies and gentlemen, is that you can change its markings. Most ebooks come like this, and it's very hard to see. But understand that you can change the markings and separate it so that your ebook now looks more like this. And this is the way I use it, a little older. So the ebook works much better and has many more options that I'll teach you in the class, the flashcards and so forth. The ebook has, where the paperback only has where you can highlight. Oh, here's another thing. If you want to highlight in here, ladies and gentlemen, this would be your highlighter. All you got to do is highlight on a word, and you'll have your choices of colors. We got more colors than this. If you want to add, you can add a highlight to it. And let's say I want you to add a note. You can also add a note, and now you have your note and your highlight always available. So whenever you come back to that, there will be your note and your highlighted areas. So it makes the ebook makes the class so much easier, much more streamlined. And don't be a little concerned that you might be saying your age. Oh, well, I'm more used to the ebook. I mean, the manual. These ebooks, that's ahead of me. Ladies and gentlemen, don't do that. You know why? Because a lot of the real estate arena today, ladies and gentlemen, is by Zoom, just like I'm doing right now. A lot of real estate business is running by Zoom, and having this electronic communication is vital. So you're not going to be able to do everything by paper. There's a lot of, we'll talk about the e-sign and UTA, the Uniform Electronic Act. We'll talk about that in the class, and their email and how important your email is. So let's get down to business, ladies and gentlemen. I've done my part. I've given you an idea of what you can achieve if you want to put in the initiative. I told you what my classes are. The $299 for real estate practice, which is a 4-week class, and then it's $299 for real estate fundamental. I broke it up this way, so if you take the first class and you're not happy with what you're learning, you don't have to spend the $299 on the second part of the class. Also, when you take my class, once you take my class, you never have to pay for the class again. You may come back to this class over and over and over again for years to come, free of charge. This will be your alma mater. I want you to be proud of it. But more important than that, I want you to have the confidence that only you know that you will have. And if you have the ability to come back to the class over and over and over again until you get it to just the point where you're comfortable with it, I'm satisfied with that. So the confidence that you're going to get from my class is automatically milked in, so you don't even have to worry about just trying to get it all mastered in one time. These 3-week classes, you ever see a real estate 3-week class? I don't understand it, but anyway, there's all 75 hours crammed into it. Take it or leave it, and you don't get a chance to absorb it over and over again. We only got 3 weeks to give you the whole class. Brokers and employers do not like the 3-week class student or the online student. It depends on there's 4 different individuals. We'll talk about the DISC program later, but it's okay to take an online course. But most people, the brokers will know that you test well when you take an online course or a 3-week class. So they're not going to teach you or give you the confidence that you need. You can't. It's just crammed. Everything's crammed in. And if you don't understand what you're reading on a class or an online course, then how can you progress? How can you move on? So my class is live streaming. It's an interactive class where you get to see me, talk to me, ask me questions, just as if you were sitting in the classroom without a disruptor. You don't have to worry about somebody sneezing or coughing next to you or saying, I'm sorry, after they just spit all over you. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about gas, parking, insurance, rain, snow, hail, sleep, not with a live streaming class. And you don't have to worry about the bathrooms being out of order, because I don't think so. All right, so these are some of the things that give you a much benefit. And here's the other thing about a live streaming class, especially when it's a state class. How is a student in Pittsburgh going to take a class in Philadelphia? How's a student in Philadelphia going to take a class in Harrisburg and vice versa? This is a state class, Pennsylvania state license, not a local license. So because it's live streaming, you could be in Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Scranton, Philadelphia, it doesn't matter, in all points in between, and the surrounding states. You don't even have to be a resident of Pennsylvania to get your Pennsylvania license. All right, so if you're in Maryland, if you're in New Jersey, if you're in New York, and you still want to get a Pennsylvania license, you can. You don't have to just live in the state to get that license. So we'll talk about it. So this live streaming platform, ladies and gentlemen, that I produce goes a long way to help my students in not just understanding, but giving them the confidence they need to go on after they get their license. So if you're ready to invest in yourself, if you're ready to go boldly go where you never thought life would ever take you, then I am ready and happy to share that journey with you, and happy to say that I was at the beginning stages of that journey when this all started for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Warren Nelson. I am a licensed real estate broker here in the state of Pennsylvania. I am a licensed instructor, director, and I got many more acclimates that I could bore you with. I'm not going to go on. Suffice it to say, I'm qualified to educate you in this game of real estate, ladies and gentlemen. And so if you want to learn real estate, you want to really learn real estate, then may I suggest that you invest the income, the investment in yourself. Don't invest in real estate until you invest in knowledge. Learn the principles and the fundamentals of real estate first before you start spending any money on books, seminars, investment classes, or real estate itself. Learn the basics, the fundamentals, and the practice of real estate. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So there it is. It's $299 for real estate practice. Do you think you can invest $299 in yourself? You know, I asked that question, not to be smug, but you'd be surprised what we'll spend $299 on. I love the ones who spend it on a slot machine. It takes them a half an hour to lose $299 in a slot machine where they got the show for it, or they can spend it at the store. But what about investing it in you? So I find it that we have a much harder time to invest in ourselves than spend on ourselves. So this is a choice. Are you ready to invest in yourself? My next class, ladies and gentlemen, is August 23rd. Just want to confirm that. And so, again, there will be no Monday meeting next Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I already have prior arrangement. So next Monday, no free show. And I do apologize about that, but I can only be in one place at one time. And unfortunately, this is an unavoidable procedure that I can't get out of. So won't have this class next Monday. So my apologies. So if you're ready to take a live streaming class, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready to learn real estate, if you're ready to get a different income coming in, if you're ready to take a different journey in your life, then may I suggest that you invest $299 in yourself and sign up for my August 23rd class, morning class, 9 to 1. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or the evening class, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Go to my website, see my reviews, see what my students have to say about their alma mater, and then decide for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, if this is the right investment for you. I hope to see you in my classroom, and I'm looking forward to making you a licensed real estate professional this year. Be safe, be healthy, be happy. God willing, I'll see you not on the first, but the following show. And then I hope to see some of you in my classroom. Ciao.